All right. Let's double check my volume. Looks like that's good. Okay. Hello and welcome to Plugin Along, a stream dedicated to Lord of the Rings Online plugins. Last time on Plugin Along, we continued working on adding the Rebuilding Hytbold dress-up quest to the Hytbold Assistant plugin. We added an on-screen alert, and we changed the background color of the item in the paper doll view. And today we're going to keep going. We're going to review what additional features we still want to add and start working through them. Maybe prioritize them in order of easiness or importance. So, as always, feel free to jump into chat with your thoughts and questions. We had some lively chat about Dutch culture and language going on there, and I'm actually going to leapfrog off of that before I even talk about plugins. Hello, let's go see in chat. And the V88. All right, so I was looking at a Wikipedia article on the Dutch education system, as one does, because coming from the American education system, there's just enough differences that it's not really an intuitive thing for me. Let me go ahead and share this, actually. So this is just education in the Netherlands. It is the English version of the page, though, so it is always possible that there are some inaccuracies. Always possible that there's inaccuracies on any Wikipedia page, of course. But whoever's writing this is hopefully pulling correct information. There's a version of that. Let's see. Nederland Wiki. Yeah. Great. So there's a simplified diagram here that I love that kind of spells out after you get through what they call basisschool here, you kind of split off, and what an American might think of as middle school and or high school gets siloed into a couple different directions depending on how theoretical or practical you're going to do, and the closest equivalent in America would probably be trade schools, except they start earlier. They start during that high school period, or even middle school. You can see the delineation here is 12 years old. The version on this page is nice and simple, and then you go to the Dutch page and hang on, turn off. And this is the diagram. And so it feels like this has been dumbed down a little bit, which is fine. This is the basic level that I need to understand the difference between VMBO and MBO and HAVO and HBO, all of these things. And so, yeah, when I look at this one, it's like, oh, okay, obviously there's details that maybe don't need to be captured into this. And then one of the things that was being talked about on Little Redhead's stream was language learning in school. And something that stuck out to me is the first 3 years of both HAVO and VWO. All pupils follow the same subjects: Dutch, mathematics, English, history, art, and at least 2 other foreign languages, mostly German and French, which could be inaccurate, but if it is correct, and it sounds correct, is much more language study than the average American high schooler gets. I mean, it is possible to do that level of study of other languages, but it's not the norm in any experience I have. All right, sorry, just catching up on chat there. Shaky Shade, didn't know most started working at HBO and not Amazon. Yeah, it took me a little while to look at HBO and see the education level, which, I'm still trying to remember what each of these initialisms means. Hoger Beroepsonderwijs, I think. And so I can see it and see Hoger Beroepsonderwijs now, and maybe less the entertainment company home box office. So that's a work in progress, just learning what each of these initials means. because they're different and they mean important things. Then everyone says, ha ha ha, yes, we made it a little difficult. Sergeant Gamble thinks the small one is pretty on point in a nutshell. Yeah, I mean, this feels like when you need to talk about all the details, the various VMBOs that exist. And apparently some of these are replacing or used to be MAVO, M-A-V-O, which M-A-V-O no longer exists on this diagram. So, yeah, lots more to learn because I never went through this system, and I don't have any children here who are going through the system, so I don't have any way to internalize it other than browsing Wikipedia articles late at night. Thunder it's not totally correct, or they had to change it. I had it at first 2 years. You had Dutch, math, English, French, German, bio, and history and arts. You went to MAVO and then MBO. Okay, yeah. So it sounds like now MAVO has been broken out in some of these VMBO, BBLs, GLs, KBLs, and TLs. There's something going on there. So let's see, MAVO. Yeah, there was a thing. Okay, there we go. So VMBO TL previously was known as MBO or MAVO. Fun. So yeah, there's some customization that I was able to do during my 12 to 18-year-old schooling, but not nearly as much of as what it seems like the Dutch students can do. Official Angudeni says, that was specific to Havo and VVO of Thunderhunja, so it is accurate. Awesome. Thunderhunjas. Oh, and Thunder Gamble says these are more like profiles. Yeah, it definitely sounds like that. It'd be really interesting to have a closer look at that, but you know, I'm not going to go hang around middle bar skulls. So. Thunderhunter says in their third year they could choose the 6 things you wanted to do exams in. Oh, also economics. Nice. So I appreciate, even though I think I've heard that the Netherlands has issues having enough people doing trades, things like plumbing or bricklaying or those kinds of things. They're having problems having enough people filling those roles as the United States is, and probably other countries. There's maybe been a little bit overemphasis on getting that university education, which is the VO, yeah, which is this silo over here, going off to theoretical university style stuff instead of more trade stuff. But I appreciate that the ability to start veering off into one direction or the other is given a little bit earlier, and not just, hey, you're done with high school, shove you out the door. Anyway, I thought it was interesting. I appreciate people popping up into chat there. I'm going to go ahead and slide that away. Oh, but yes, education in the Netherlands, or onderwijs in Nederland, which is the equivalent in the Dutch Wikipedia, to see these fantastic charts of education. Little Redhead says, we don't have to know it all, but we do have to know enough about them to answer any questions. Oh yeah, some of the Kennisvan in Nederlands Maatschappij, knowledge of the Dutch society questions that Little Redhead was talking about on her stream were some of those basic things like, hey, this child is just about done with VMBO. Which of these things is she going to do next? MBO, HBO, or WO, or that kind of thing. And so just being able to know, okay, there are these silos, and which of them pair up with each other. VMBO with MBO, HAVO with HBO, and VWO with VO. Like, knowing that they are paired up in that way means that you can kind of pick your way through the multiple choice answers. But if you haven't seen this, if you're not familiar with it, then you're missing out on an important aspect of Dutch education. And it's going to be harder to talk with people, and that's why it's on the test. Sergeant Gamble says, yeah, the last generation was pushed towards HBO, which caused a more theoretical bunch of people. Devin Gamble. So, how does this tie into LOTRO? You guys gonna make like a little Amsterdam next to Brie? Oh man, if I could pay a small amount of money and get SSG to translate or localize LOTRO into Dutch, that I feel like that would really help me with my my learning the Dutch language. No, today's focus is actually going to be on the Rebuilding Hytbold. I just love getting distracted by things. So, as always, yeah, feel free to toss questions and comments into chat. They don't even have to be about LOTRO or plugins. I'll get distracted with anything. Official Uncle Denny says, I'd be so down on localizing LOTRO. Do you reckon I should send SSG a message? I would not spend the energy on that. I think at this point SSG is committed to continuing French and German support. And again, I don't work for SSG. I don't have any insider knowledge. But based on what I've seen on the forums and in streams and whatnot, it seems like they've already committed to supporting French and German this long. They're going to keep on doing that. But they don't. It adds a lot of overhead to the process of making the game. And I think they would prefer not to add additional languages at this time. If things change in the future, they get more people working for them, they get an influx of subscribers, lots of extra money, anything could happen, right? But right now, with the number of people they have and the amount of extra effort a language takes, even once everything's been caught up to the present, and there's hundreds of thousands of words of text in all the quests and the deeds and the user interface and everything. We're talking about way more than the actual text of the Lord of the Rings book at this point. And so even if all of that were caught up to, Spanish would probably be the most likely language in Europe to go next. There's a lot of Spanish-speaking fans, both in Europe and in South America and all over the world, who would be interested in a Spanish localization. So there's a lot of potential people there. So let's say Spanish was already all caught up. Now every time they do a release, every time they add new content, every time they put out a statement on the website, it has to get translated into another language, and then another language, and then another language. So you get to the point where they want to put out a statement on the website saying, hey, we're going to take the servers down tomorrow, but they have to send it out to 8 different translators before they can post it. It's a lot of extra on top of the difficulty of making a game. So I would love for you to reach out and for them to accept and have you or anyone translate the game into Dutch. But I think what seems more likely is the ability to translate the user interface, like system help, options, log out, like just the user interface stuff and none of the content. Like that feels like something that could be supported moderately easily, but not today. And yes, official Uncle Danny says, haha, no worries, just joking. Dutch tends to never be in game translations unless the game has massive income because it's not that actively spoken compared to French, German, Spanish, Mandarin. Absolutely. I get a little amazed when I find videos, movies, and television shows that have Dutch subtitles. Very, very rarely do they have Dutch a voiceover, but Dutch subtitles is like, oh, that's really cool. Let me put those on so I can get a little practice. Pavala says, just started at Lord of the Rings Online. It's fantastic. I know, right? Official Uncle says it should be possible plugin-wise too. Plugins could definitely support a different language for interacting with plugins. You could definitely have a plugin, and hey, we're back on topic. You could definitely have a plugin, I'm going to load the Hytbold Assistant, where you could go into options, and there could be a drop-down that says interface language or plugin language, just for Hytbold Assistant, but you could pick from that, from any of the supported languages, and then all of that text could change. So plugins could absolutely run this by themselves. It would just be for a plugin, but the more plugins that supported that, the more you could just change them. Oh, I want the plugin language to be in Catalan or Spanish or Italian or whatever. And then it would be up to a plugin to determine how much it gets translated. And again, all of that effort is magnified because if you're a plugin developer, you're doing this for funsies and not getting paid for it. Thunder Hunches. Oh, I hope they don't change names in Dutch like the Dutch books. It's really interesting to see how much Dutch translators for things like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Lord of the Rings, are willing to really localize it, not just translate the words, but the character of Arthur Dent in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is now living, I think, outside of Rotterdam and is named something much more Dutch. And the joke of his friend being named Ford Prefect, which was a common model of car at the time, the Ford Prefect, got localized to his friend being named Amro Bank, because you would see advertisements for Amro Bank all over the place, and it almost sounds like a name. So you could see how someone landing in the Netherlands would be like, I will fit in by calling myself Amro Bank. So it's really interesting to see that. And yes, so many of the names get localized in Dutch. So you do have Sam Gewissies instead of Samwise Gamgees. Official Daddy says, how about translating a game through a plugin? I don't know how much a plugin in LOTRO is allowed to do. Short answer is not that much. But what a plugin could do, if one wanted to, could be providing side-by-side information. So, for example, I need to pick up a quest. Now, a plugin can't know that I'm looking at this quest right here. A plugin can know that I'm talking to Rinwald. And a plugin could then say, oh, well, Rinwald only has this one quest. So it could pop up a window saying, hey, do you want to see a translation for Aiding the Easternet? And you could click on the Aiding the Easternet and kind of had side-by-side windows of translations going. And then when you accept it, a plugin can see that you've accepted a quest, if it looks hard enough. So it could close that window kind of automatically. So a plugin could do these things, but it would be really not easily done. It would be able to do these things not because the API, the programming interface between the plugin and LOTRO, not because it enables you to do such a thing, but you could make things work a little bit. Hugo Veld, thank you, Little Redhead. Yes, Thunder Hunter says the Shire is de Gauw in Dutch. And Little Redhead points out Arthur Dent is named Hugo Veld in the Dutch translation, which I assume sounds like an everyday sort of Dutch person name. Like, oh yes, Hugo Veld, probably a very boring person who I don't need to pay any attention to. So apologies to any Hugo Velds out there. I don't know, coming from the outside, it's just what I assume they're going for, not what it actually is. Cool. Okay, so we picked up the quest Aiding the Easternet. That allows us to head on off to Harwick. It doesn't, because we don't have ally standing. Now, there's a couple things we can do here. We could cry, or we can just take a different stable master, because the reputation restrictions in Hytbold only apply when you're traveling outbound from Hytbold. From any of the other cities, you can still just travel point to point like that. Danny said, there's definitely some workarounds from what I'm hearing, but not worth the effort. It really depends on how much you want to have that kind of thing. I would be much more interested in a contextual quest helper, personally, although it would use much of the same framework as a quest translator, where there are some quests out there that I think it would be very useful. When you take the quest, you just get a little window popping up saying, hey, here's some information that's going to make this much easier, or here's a map of the area because you don't have a map for that. That kind of thing. It's basically what I'm doing with the Hytbold plugin here, the Hytbold Assistant. I'm adding contextual information for quests because I think it'd be very useful for some very specific quests, especially dress up being one of them. So, but the same quest infrastructure for doing this kind of generic quest helper thing would be the same as you would need for a quest translation thing. So, I don't know. Danny says, still waiting for them to fix the Steam wallet. Oh, yeah, I have never tried to integrate my Steam and LOTRO experiences. So I hear some people, having a successful time with it. I hear some people having a more difficult time with it. And it all just goes over my head because I've never even tried. I always just use the default launcher. Okay. Thunder Hundred says, yeah, that's why I use the LOTRO one, not Steam. I mean, I have no particular problem with Steam. It just, I started with a default launcher, and I don't use Steam enough where it would be valuable for me to be able to launch it from within Steam. Instead, on my start menu here, I just have a little shortcut, and you can encode your username and password into these shortcuts if you so desire. So for me, I just click the shortcut, the launcher comes up, I select the world, and I'm in. So it feels pretty seamless. So because of that, I don't know that a Steam integration would make my life any would fill in something that. Thunder Hunter says, yeah, that doesn't work for me. Which interesting. Well, I'm just on Windows 10, and I just made a shortcut to Lord of the Rings to the launcher and passed in the correct parameters. The shortcut doesn't work for Thunder Hunters. That is unfortunate. It works actually so well that Little Redhead and I actually have a folder in Dropbox account that we both have access to, and so either one of us can launch that in case we need to duck in and grab something from the other person's account. It's very handy. Danny says I use Steam a ton, so for me it's just nicer. Yeah, cool. It can be bypassed and all. You had some Team Fortress 2 items to sell? Oh, and now you have your money in your Steam wallet that you'd like to spend on LOTRO. I get you. I'm so glad I don't have to support any product that requires like payment processing. It's rough. Thunder Hunters is also on Windows 10. I'll tell you what, if you want to try to dig into some that might be better done offline when I'm not accidentally flashing my password up on the screen, but duck into my Discord server at some point, and we'll try that out. I think there's a link to it in the deed tracker description, the plugin description, if you're not already in there. But yeah, feel free to duck in there and say, hey, it's not working, and maybe we can sort that out, because I find it incredibly useful not having to type or remember my password. I don't even know what my password is. Okay, here we have the Hytbold window. Awesome. Now, what is Dress Up? For very quick, for anyone who doesn't know, Dress Up is one of the quests that you can get while you're doing Rebuilding Hytbold. While you have the Aiding the Eastern Net quest available, there are 3 quest givers in each of the 4 kind of capital cities. In the Wold, we have Harwick. In the Norcrofts, we have Cliving. In the Sutcrofts, we have Snowbourne. In the Entwash Vale, we have Aoworth. And there are 3 of these quest givers standing usually near the Mead Hall, except in Cliving, because that Thane is a jerk. And of those 3, one of them will have pairs of quests in a public instance. 4 of those. One of them will have a go defeat mounted enemies quest, and one of them will have the oddball quests. Here we have Dress Up, Hobby Horse, and Rohirrim Bandits. Rohirrim Bandits is a game of tag, essentially, with the children of Harwick. Hobby Horse is a race where you go very slowly around the town on a hobby horse instead of an actual horse. And Dress Up is the one we're focused on today, where the goal of it is to find the articles that this dress-up model is wearing and bring back and stand in front of the dress-up model with them. Blender 100 says, yeah, I don't use Steam anymore because it's harder to renew VIP. With the recent changes to the LOTRO store, there was something in there about being able to do VIP subscriptions within this store. So I'm wondering if that will get easier going forward. Okay. So the goal of this quest assistant is walk up to the dress up model and record what it is that they're wearing, either winter or regal or balladeer. The helmet of the balladeer is a little deceptive because they're not wearing anything. That is the helmet. The black outfit here is the balladeer outfit. Those gloves there are the regal ones. That's more of the white outfit. The pants, the winter is more of a blue thing. And there we go, we're locked in. So we now have told the plugin what it is that we're looking for. And then, if we head on over to the nearest chest, we can see that's a crate of gloves. What we did last time was get player announcements or screen announcements, and also we're able to color that piece green or red based off of whether it was good or not. It was not correct. Click the crate to move it from the map. We can do that. Now, it would be nice if that was able to auto-detect, but for now, we have to manually click it to remove it. All right, coming up to the crate of boots, click that. All right, that was not correct. Click it to remove, and so on. So the objective of this is, instead of, in fact, we might be able to do this while we're mounted. The objective of this is to, well, record where you've already been, so you don't have to worry about that. Oh, that was not it. But also, once you have found the correct one, remove those crates from the map so that you don't overwrite it with the wrong one. So it would be very nice. Oh, we did. We found the boots of the balladeer. Awesome. I didn't even notice that. Okay, great. The gloves are good, and so any of the other glove boxes that were undone would have been hidden. That was a persistent haystack. All right. So. Okay. Shirts. Okay, that one was wrong. I forgot to actually pay attention to what it was saying. Hey, there's a cat beside me. Hello, Casper. Wonder if I can adjust this. I need to fix my camera. And apparently my monitor is just a little bit too high and bumps into it. Hi. You might be on camera. What's up? What's up? Oh, she has food. I don't think she has chicken.
It's fruit.
Yeah, it's fruit. You want to sit down? You could be internet famous. 5 people could know what you look like. Okay. Well, we'll just leave that right there for now. Okay. Maybe I should also have a cat cam. Where are we? Cool, that's another thing I really like about this. Now, we do have a time issue where these pieces are only good for 5 minutes. So one of the things I want to work on today is adding a timer so you can see how long you have left on a piece. Found the correct, nice. Now you get 5 minutes, so there is a minute in there for scritching the cat. Okay, that was the correct piece. So we can see our outfit is getting more and more correct. Alright, I guess that one was correct too because the dot is gone. Maybe I should make that announcement stay on the screen longer. Click the crate to remove it. Okay, so we can see the pants are the only thing I'm missing. There's only 1 box left for the pants, so we must have hit the other 2 already. So the worst case scenario for this quest is having to visit all 18 boxes, but the best case scenario is only having to visit 6 of them. Alright, so our paper doll is green. We are rapidly running out of time on the first one we got, which was the boots. But the goal of the quest is to come stand in front of the dress-up model, and if you do that, you get credit for each of them. At that point, you can talk to the quest giver and turn it in. For my purposes, though, I think I kind of want to abandon it so we can start over. So we're going to go ahead and abandon it. There's probably a 5-minute... Oops, not that one. Hopefully there's a 5-minute. Oh, awesome. So, oh fun. And that all turned red. Now, that raised the question of how do we reset the dots on this map? Because we don't currently have a good way to do it. I'm tempted to just add a reset button at the bottom. Thunder Hunter says, what add-on is that? Well, there is a plugin called the Hytbold Assistant put out by Galahad many years ago. I'm currently working on updating that with some of the newer pricing for Rebuilding Hytbold. A lot of the costs of it used to be 5 or 10 tokens, and now it's down to 1. So the rebuilding process goes faster. But as well as that, I'm also looking to add in helpers for certain quests. And this is definitely one of them where a plugin can track this information way better than a human. It's a very silly quest to do it on, but why not? So, let's go take a look at some of our to-do asks, desires, and also let's look at our plugin. Okay, we can see our our working directory is clean of any outstanding changes, and so that's a very good state to be in. All right, let's start cleaning up this to-do file. Okay, so new feature, quest helper for dress up, paper doll view to help remember what is needed. All right, let's figure out if there's anything we are missing. Official Uncle Danny says you can track the quest being picked up again to trigger a reset for the dots, right? Absolutely. Let's see. Yep. So that is one of the notes that we have. But what we don't have is if you wait the 5 minutes and an item drops off, we need to go pick it up again. And so it would be neat to either remember where the thing is. In fact, having the dots disappear instead of saying this was it is a bit disconcerting. It'd be nice to kind of record where it is, especially if you're doing this with other people, where you could maybe read it off and say, hey, if this is good for an hour, well, this is where it is for the next hour. Yeah, official Denny says, I got you, makes sense. And then a manual reset button just in case as well. Yeah. Thunder Hunter says another question, how do you get your map so small? Well, the trick is, that's not my map. This is my map. Instead, the plugin has a image file in the plugin directory. And so your plugins are usually in Documents, Lord of the Rings Online, Plugins, and in this case, Galahad plugins, Hytbold, and a lot of plugin authors have the convention that images go into a folder called Resources. And then within that, this is a quest helper for dress up, and so we have map. Map red, green, and blue. What else do we have? Where's the map? Could have sworn I put it in here. Hardwick map, there we go. So this is just a TGA file. Danny says, always love a consistent file system in a modding/plugin community. Yeah, it's nice to see those conventions, and I don't know how much of it is just people saying, oh, that's a good idea, I'm going to do it, and how much of it people kind of copying an existing plugin and changing a bunch of things and just keeping the conventions. So this was me taking a screenshot of the map and cropping it to what I needed. Excuse me, got a tickle in my throat. I was out singing yesterday, and it's more stress than I normally put in my throat. So, take a screenshot, crop it to what'll work for my purposes, and stick it into the plugin. Thunder Hunter says, is there a plugin to make your map smaller? Plugin, no. Skin, yes. So, what you're looking for are some of the skin packs. Actually, while I'm muted, Thunder Hunter says plus G. Oh, thank you. Yeah, in this case, less sneezing and more, I don't know, something's going on. Too much in my throat. Little Red has pointed out the JRR Skins collection is what they use, and by default has the smaller map. And so once you have those installed, you can come into your options. I believe it's under UI setting, but easy enough to do a search. Current user skin, awesome. And so you can then change from your current user skin to a different one. Now, skins, by default, some of them may adjust the map size, they may not, but some of them will also give you instructions. If you want a bigger cosmetic items preview, or if you want a smaller map, do the following steps. And so within your skins files, which is Lord of the Rings Online, and then you go into UI skins, you can come on in and maybe make changes in that way. So let's see. What do people play with? I have to remember how this works. All right, so a skin definition file will look like an XML file. So within those, you will sometimes find width and height elements for the map, or that's an option to do. And by adjusting those width and heights, you can scale it down from the whatever resolution you're normally playing to a smaller number of pixels width and height. And then also, if you don't want it to be tucked away in the upper left corner, you can go ahead and slide it with the X and Y coordinates. So that's the mechanism by which you would do that change. I just don't know what the entry is for the map specifically. So for that, if I was looking into that,
It's on the page.
yeah, I would take this link. Dun, dun, dun. Sure. Let's see.
Maybe scroll down, there's FAQ.
Yeah, if I scroll down, there's an FAQ I'm hearing. But where does it say map?
If it wasn't that hard to find, I'm not sure where you're at. I don't know, which did you end up? Yeah, I am.
Let's see if it's the first link instead of the second
Scroll
link.
down. Just
Hang
don't
on,
do
hang on,
anything.
hang on.
There you go.
Okay, so it was the first link, not the second link in what... So the first link of those two links in there, we have the frequently asked questions. All right, the map is no more full screen. It's not a bug, this is a skinning choice. It's really convenient in some situations and multi-screen. How can I restore the full screen map? So they're saying go to the skin definition and you're looking for map background, and this is the element you would change. The XY position and the width and the height in pixels. So if you're normally playing at 1920 by 1080, you would put in 1920 and 1080 if you wanted the map to be full screen, or smaller values if you wanted it to only take up part of your screen. Now, the map default resolution is not the same proportionality as our quote-unquote 1K sort of standard resolution, the 1920 by 1080. And so if you look at the resolution listed here, that's 1024 divided by 768. So you get a proportionality of 4/3. But if you take the proportionality of sort of that 1K resolution, the 1920 divided by 1080, you can see it is stretched. Instead of 1.3, we get 1.77, which I'm very used to it. But when I look at this map, it is stretched from its native resolution or its native 1.3 multiplier. And so everything's just a little bit wider. So I try to remember when I'm taking screenshots, I try to remember to account for that. So one way to do that is to just go into your graphics and say, hey, I want it to be a different resolution. Now I'm in full screen windowed, so it's trying to use the resolution of my desktop. And I'm not sure if I can do this while streaming, but if I put it in windowed mode, then I can have, oh, that's interesting. No, it didn't like that. Well, I'll play around with it. If you put it into full screen mode, you then can, I think, adjust that. Yeah, the full screen resolution, you can dial it down. Or you just, find someone who is running that resolution and take screenshots with them. Anyway, so Flinder Hunches has got it. Awesome. So yes, with a skin, you can change. This is basically just a window that is on top of everything else. Okay, cool. Great question. All right, I'm going to close a few windows down here. Okay. With that, I can probably go pick up dress up again. Let's go ahead and take a look at the to-do list and see what things have been done. So we wanted left and right arrows to select from wiki images. Now these images could probably be better. So let's go ahead and remember that we want to do that. Better images. But that's done. The name of the category is also shown. We can see Balladeer versus Winter versus Regal. Awesome. Highlight with a green border when picked up. Yes. We still don't have show timer with how long is remaining before the piece falls off. I think we can do that today. Gloves will be to the side of chest. Done. Otherwise, I was just running out of vertical space. I think also it'd be useful to maybe crop these things down. Like, I don't think we need the full arms. We just need the torso. So then again, we'll see. Once I have a better crop of images. Maybe I'll provide a drop down with the name of the item. I don't think so. That was a silly idea. Map to show remaining boxes. When you pick up the wrong box, have a way to manually remove it. We can do that. When you pick up the right one, hide the other boxes of that type. Yes. Show how long we have left on the effect somewhere. I think that's just the thing above. Sometimes I type things in the wrong place. Alright, there was a guide from Anatholos on just this quest that I don't want to delete a link to that yet. Switch blue up to in-game image if possible. That would be lovely. Not done yet. Can we make the player arrow go under the dots? We did do that. Okay, more detailed map design notes. Make this all in a library class control so we can stop duplicating this effort. That sounds lovely, and then I didn't... Oh, the map control I did put in libraries. The image carousel control I forgot to. And so there's a note here. Awesome. Show the hard map. Done. Respond to the /LC to know where we are. Done. Show the 18 crates on the map. Done. 18 crates should be clickable when you click it, hide it. Done. Once the map is done at this point, start paying attention to the custom effects. Done. When we have the wrong one, change the color of the treasure crates for easy clicking. I don't think that is going to happen. I don't like having important information be represented only by a color change because it's a very subtle thing, and there's some people who won't be able to engage with that mechanic at all. I'm still a little quasi on the using red and green on these borders, but I think that information is also available in other places, so it could be okay. If anyone out there does have a strong red-green color deficiency, I'd be curious to hear from you whether they're distinct enough when next to each other. Alright, when we have the wrong, when we have the right one, hide the, yep, okay, done. Cool. Provide a color option for each dot, so each of the 6 can be color coordinated. Maybe. Later enhancements. I'm not going to delete this, but I don't think it's going to stop us from shipping a thing. Okay. When a wrong chest is found, if /LOC happened recently, calculate the closest crate and remove it. I love that idea. We're going to go ahead and move this to do into enhancements. We're going to start using this as our to-do place and our ordering. Okay. I'll put that in enhancements, just not yet. Move that, yes. And yes. All that sounds good. Okay, let's look at, go through the enhancements now and kind of prioritize them for ourselves. So the timer bar showing how much time is left, I think that's really important because when you only have 5 minutes for this, I want to know at a glance how urgent is it that I get back and turn in what I've gotten so far versus doing more. Now, with this plugin, I can't imagine this will ever take anyone more than 5 minutes unless they get distracted, like petting a cat or something. but just in case, I want to incorporate that timer bar. We're going to go ahead and not worry about that dot in game right now. All right, I love the idea of keeping track of the latest /LOC and when it happened, so we know how out of date it is. And if it's not very out of date at all, we can use that to try to find the nearest dot. Now, I don't know what the logic looks like yet for finding the nearest dot, but I have some thoughts. We can go through each of the x and y coordinates and say, hey, which one is the closest in one direction, which one's the closest in the other? Are they the same one? Or maybe calculate a sort of calculate the distance. We can use something like the Pythagorean theorem to just get a distance, and whichever one has the lowest distance, radial distance from where we are, regardless of direction. Maybe that's the thing to do. All right, I like that. Talk to me into it. For each remaining chest, calculate Pythagorean. Calculate radial distance using Pythag. Choose shortest. That sounds pretty basic. So yeah, if we've had a /LC in the last second, maybe 2, I guess we'll need to see how long it takes to open the crate. Then we can go ahead and automatically do it. And if we do automatically do it, if we find one, then don't instruct the user, then change the output message from click it to it has been removed. Okay. Now, Anatholos had an idea. When a wrong test is found, if the /LC did not happen recently, provide something to click as a shortcut to LC, and then if we see that, use that. That sounds neat. I'm going to go ahead and say it's a later enhancement. It sounds like just a little bit more work than I'm up for right now. All right, when a dot is removed, changes color and faded out. Oh, we actually do that. Done. Tooltip for each dot with type of crates. I love that idea. I want to have tooltips in here. We'll just need to pull in a tooltip library to do that effectively. All right, reset map and paper doll when quest is accepted and turned in. Yep. Accepted or turned in. When we track good chests, keep these colored differently. I know I just said I don't like using color to mark state, but I would like to have a different color for the good chests. You know, maybe generic ones are blue, and when they are the right one, it is green. That way, if you're for some reason going to pick up the item again, or if you're helping a friend and you already did it, you know exactly which ones are good for some period of time. Not sure when they reset yet. Better images, cool. Okay, so that's maybe a rough ordering that I want to finish things in. So we'll call this dress up enhancements versus dress up later enhancements. So that's a little brief triage. So the most important thing for me is showing a timer bar with how long is remaining before the piece just goes away. Now, we happen to know that these always last for 5 minutes. So we can hard code that. But the timers themselves, we want to use something generic. So what I want to do is probably go to the Minstrel Buff plugin and see how it's doing its timers. And that's pretty easy to do. We're going to go into Documents, in this case, Plugin Along, Plugins, and come on into Cube Plugins, Minstrel Buff 2. Great. Visual Studio Code, a new window. And we're going to go ahead and open a folder, and that's the folder that we're going to use. It might even ask if I trust it. Maybe I've already done that. Nope, don't want that. Okay, so we have a timer control. this sounds like a great thing to have as a library. So we're going to try to put this into our libraries folder to start, maybe package them up. It could be that this is overkill for what we need, but it's got the general idea that we want. Let's see. Interesting. All right, well, to kind of relearn how this works. So we're going to go ahead and copy that and bring it on in to libraries. New file, timer control. So we can see it's trying to import class. And that's going to be important. When we are incorporating in the turbine files. We're not, you know, I keep meaning to do that. Let's take a look at that as well. Okay, so Festival Buddy, we had turbine files. Great, let's call it that as well for, you know, convention. So we're going to go ahead and new folder, turbine files, and within this, we know we want class. We're also going to grab type. Awesome. Now these files are a little special in that they are intentionally modifying things in the global namespace. So if we come into class, we can see that they're modifying _G. Because they're doing this, even though things declared locally would be in a different part of the namespace than the rest of our stuff, unless we're actually trying to access the is-a function or something like that, all of the rest of this stuff will just work because it is a part of the global section of the namespace. So no problems there. All right, so timer control, we have Galahad plugins, .hytbold, and we're going to go ahead and put that into turbine files.class. Now, we're going to be importing that in other places, but it doesn't hurt to have it here. Okay. Timer control equals a class. We're making a UI control. We do need to call the base constructor from here. Awesome. Okay, we can see here that the timer width is being assumed at first to be 34. And then there's also a set width function. This also supports right to left, which is very handy. And we can get into that. Let's see what else we have. We have a set timer size. But the set timer size and set width do not interoperate. That's not great design. I feel like we should do something about that. For instance, we could say self set height to be height, and we could say self set width. But the problem is we're using the set width function to set the concept of how wide is the timer, I think, from memory. Whereas set timer size is like how wide should it be regardless of how filled it is. So we have conflating concepts here. All right, we have a set start time, awesome. Get start time, duration, set and get duration, set right to left, awesome. Get remaining percent, good to know. Refresh display behavior. Why is there a mark of functions there? Refresh display behavior. Okay. We have the update function that controls drawing itself. we've got some things that it doesn't know about. Let's go ahead and put self dot equals nil here and see what it thinks. Okay. Same thing, self warning %. By defining these things, we're just helping the IntelliSense. It doesn't actually make a difference because we're checking for things to be nil. If they don't exist, they will equate to nil. So it doesn't affect the logic here. We can see the design of this is that we're just expecting whoever makes this thing to change these values instead of calling a function. Not excited about that. I feel like we could go ahead and make some mutator functions. Here we have a pause and resume. Yeah, the warning % and the warning of lapsed. Lets us know when we get to that point. Nice. And now I'm wondering, how did I change this for the festival plugin for Hobnanigans, if at all? And I might have. Oh, a lot. Well, that's great. Now there's 2 different versions of this thing. Oh, and that's not even class-based. Okay. We're not going to worry about that. Integrating those together is a bigger project. So, what I'm concerned about is the background or the colors of the bar. I'm used to that being changed as this thing times out. Okay, so that being said, let's see where this is being used. And combat time display. Sounds great. How are you used? Oh, great. You... are a specialized version of a timer. Awesome sauce. Why did past me do this to present me? You might ask. It's a good question. Past me set up a trap. I'm contemplating. Danny says, I ask myself that for many of my programming projects as well. So the most recent thing that I've done, probably, that has timer code, so I'm apparently just reinventing this every time I do it, is Festival Buddy 2. Because in Festival Buddy 2, It's not there. We have a Habnanigans UI, and that has the concept of like different chunks of time. So let me go back into Festival Buddy and take a look at that. We're just going to pop it up in Beyond Compare as a file comparison utility. So first of all, it's not object-oriented in the sense of using the class construct to package everything together. That's fixable. But there's a lot of good stuff in here. And I think I probably fixed a lot of the things that I didn't like about the base control. So let's go ahead and change our minds. We're not going to use this timer control yet. We're going to go ahead and bring in this timer control instead. And you know what? I like the idea of it being a class. So, oh, I should name that better so we get our intelligence in. So it's the minstrelbuff.lua, not lua.minstrelbuff. There we go. We still get our intelligence that way. Okay, so we're still going to mark this. This is going to be a timer control. Awesome. Precision point no longer needs to be there. Instead, we'll go ahead and pull over the constructor. Now, the syntax for that is going to be the same either way. But the things that we want to go in here would have been in this make timer controller. And my goodness, it takes a lot of possible possible things. Okay, so what do we take? We take width, height, duration, border width, border height, color start, color middle time, color end time. All of that. Now we're going to go ahead and try to document this just a little bit while we're working on it. Creates a new timer control. And then get these parameter names in here. So this is width is going to be a number, and the width of the timer control, right? Cool. So we will do things like that. Now, I'm not going to document everything quite yet because I want to get on with the code writing part. Let's go ahead and remove that comment. So, iteration, okay. I'm just going to go ahead and copy those over. What I'm curious is, will this fix the IntelliSense issue with custom class constructors? Because that would be neat. We'll see. My chatty disconnected from LOTRO stream. Well, hopefully that's not a bad sign. Well, my internet connection is fine, so we'll see. Fine enough to ping a Google surfer anyway. Okay, so we want to go ahead and hoist out a lot of this stuff. The local control, all of this. So this supports a border. It supports text. Danny says it did load for a bit, like a minute earlier. I thought it was my internet. I'm going to blame it on Twitch. Twitch is broken, y'all. Maybe not. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and hoist this out and adapt it into what we're working on. And how do we do that? Well, first of all, any place where we have control, that's us. So that needs to be self. But we can't necessarily just do that without thinking about it. So we do want to review each one of these. Obviously, it'll be better if we match the case. Little Redhead says, LOTRO disconnected while I was alting a moment ago, and Kenny also had a problem, so it could be a LOTRO connection glitch. Well, don't see how that would affect Chatty, but maybe there's just an Eastern Seaboard issue. Michigan was getting lightning and thunderstorms the other day. Maybe they have weather. Okay, so what do we have? We have, in our new constructor, we set the size, the visibility, the back color blend mode. We go ahead, and this is just the container for the timer. Oh, I declared everything to be a number. That's going to be a problem. Border width, border height, color start. We want that to be a color. Color middle, and color end, color middle, color end, and time, end time. Great. Now when we're saying set back color, it's expecting a color, we're passing a color, everything's great. Okay, set position. We have a start color. Is start, is middle, is end. Why not? Keep track of state that way. And we go ahead and save off some of those parameters. Is stop, start time, previous update time, set once, updates false. Great. So there's some specific things going on here where for the Hobnanigans timer, I wanted to kind of have lines so you could anticipate the division coming. We're going to see how that looks here. It might be excessive. Let's see. And also, it's named very specifically for that. Mark off the middle and end sections. Oh, Thunder Hundreds did still hear me? Okay, cool. It's probably us. One of these days, we're hoping to maybe upgrade to fiber instead of whatever line is in the wall here, but I get a little worried because I've never had fiber before, or at least not fiber to the curb. There's been fiber involved, I'm sure. And if there are problems, I'm hoping that I will still understand what's going on when it goes wrong. All right, so this is going to be the end bar. And 6-minute bar will be the middle bar, which is a type of education here. Thunder Hunter says, just curious, Zigo? Yeah, it's Zigo. Zigo isn't offering the fiber. Well, they would like to offer fiber, I guess, but they're not offering 1,000 up, 1,000 down, which is would be the upgrade that we're looking for. So it's some other company that's doing the dig in our village, and so it's like, yeah, sure. If you're offering me 1,000 up, 1,000 down for roughly the same price as Zigo, and also we can see the television and MPO and whatnot, sure, why not? But it seems like they're not actually activating it until the whole village has lines in the ground, and so it's a slow process. Okay, so we have an end bar and a middle bar. We also have a timer text. A genericized version of this, it might be nice to pass in a parameter that says include text. Thunder Hunter says, yes, I'm at budget. I find Zigo too expensive. Yeah, it's... As long as we have an internet connection that supports our extravagant lifestyles like streaming video and playing games and whatnot, and a television with some basic channels, we're pretty set. So I didn't have any particular loyalty to Zigo. Danny says, Zigo's been a pain over here where I live, but we do have a street where it's very actively used. Yeah, I think we kind of defaulted. When we moved in, we were in touch with the previous owners, and we still chat with them occasionally. And we basically just said, hey, what utilities are you using? And we'll just do the same, because we know they work for this house, like for this location. So, you know, Zigo obviously works just fine here. The electric company, Vattenfall, V10s for water, like let's just keep doing what was fine, and we can make decisions to change later. Thunder Hunter says, but 1,000 up and down. Just again curious, do you have a 1,000 up down network card? It's a good question. I would have to check. I hope so. We bought the hardware for this computer not that long ago. Sure. Hardware. What are you called now? Device manager. System, maybe. I'm so used to the old style of the settings. Hardware. Device manager, that's the one. Yeah, I don't know. Network. Surely one of you is reasonable. Well, let's see what the internet says about that. I'm not sure we have anything other than the integrated Ethernet connection right now, but I'm willing to add in something. Speed. Now we can do 1,000 down with these network cards, so it would just be, can it go 1,000 up? I think. So I'm not sure. Okay. Interesting question. Okay, so we have a timer update function, but this is a lot going on here. So I would like to go ahead and incorporate this in, or make another function for this. So we're in timer control. So let's go ahead and have a timer control function, timer control handle update. And we can go ahead and do this instead. And we're going to go ahead and just say it is a function which calls self-handle update. Super easy. And we want to do this kind of dispatch. It's possible that you could pass a self-handle update just as the thing. The update function is this. But I get a little nervous when doing that because it is not going to call it as a class function. So there's not going to be that implicit self-parameter being passed in. So I don't think that will handle just right. Better to just have an anonymous function that correctly dispatches it as a colon-style function call. Okay, so in handle update, anywhere where we're using timer, that does want to be self.timer. So we can go ahead and fix those. Not that one. Nope. We're really just looking for the whole word. So we can take advantage of that. Awesome. So make timer control down here. We've gone ahead and adapted all of this, hopefully. This precision point, we want to go ahead and incorporate this into the class itself. So in this constructor, we want to go ahead and, and we can see we're not using color, middle, and end because that was in the update function. We need to go ahead and save those off. So self dot precision point equals 5. We're going to save that off. All right. So color middle, timer dot color middle equals color middle, timer dot color end, I assume is what it's called. Yeah, equals color end. And then I'm guessing we're accessing that in the update function. There we go. So these places, and we can see we're getting IntelliSense highlighting that. We want to go ahead and make sure we reference self here. Color middle time, color middle, color end time, color end. But we can see these are not named quite the same way as they were here, I think. Yeah. So we were saving off middle time instead of color middle time. So we're going to go ahead and fix that. So color middle time, color end time. And what else do we have? Undefined field, but I just defined it. Or did I? When in doubt, copy, paste. Oh, of course, it's not in self, it's in self.timer. Now it doesn't have to be in self.timer. It could be just in self. As long as they're consistent. Okay, where is timer text? Looks like we would need to save that off. So self.timer text equals timer text. Great. And then we can reference it from here. Okay. We have a function called format time. Let's go ahead and embed that into the timer control. And then we can just call self format time. And that'll give us access to the self.precision point that we saved off before. Okay, same thing, timer set size. Let's go ahead and put that in here. We no longer need to pass in control. So that's just going to be self.timer, self.timer. We're not using this at all. Awesome. All right, same thing. Timer start. We're going to put that in here, and we're no longer passing in the control. So we have self.timer. And self set visible. Very cool. Okay, coming on into timer, and all these functions had timer in the name in order to kind of collectively put them together in a kind of a namespace. Not all of them, obviously, we have format time. So when it was timer set size, it's because we were passing in a control that was a timer. So it's very tempting to get rid of that. But then you do run into the problem that there is already a set size function. Yeah, that one's actually fine. Timer start, timer stop. I'm going to leave those. Maybe they make sense. The thing that made me think of that is the timer set timer remaining. I could almost see us getting rid of that and just calling it set timer remaining. I'm going to keep it for a moment, but we are getting rid of that control that's being passed in. So any place that we have the timer, we're going to go ahead and say self timer. And that wrapped around. Okay, what do we have? End time. Cool. What is that supposed to be? Color end. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I think I've named these poorly. Let's go ahead and finish the rename though and circle back around in just a sec. Okay, so let's circle back around to that. I think I was over ambitious here, overzealous perhaps. So we need the color of the start section. Let's go ahead and start renaming these things to make more sense. So what we really want is start section color. And that should be start section color. Okay, next up we have the middle section. So we want color middle to become middle section time, probably, right? No, oh, the other one's time. Awesome. So yes, the middle section color. I'll come back to that in a minute. Okay, and same thing with this variable now. Color middle, middle section color. Color and middle or end section color. I think that's going to make more sense in my head later on. Bill Slowski says, "Hey, how you doing? I'm good. Just hot, only 107 today." I'll tell you what, that is 40, almost 2 degrees in Celsius, which is just too hot. Poslowski says, question, how do we install add-ons in LOTRO or Dungeons & Dragons? So terminology point is that in Lord of the Rings Online they are called plugins, in contrast to games like World of Warcraft where they are add-ons. And so the easiest answer is you can find them over at lotrointerface.com. There's a link there in chat as well, lotrointerface.com. You're under a heat wave for the week, pretty much. Yeah. Sounds like. Okay, so when you go to LOTRO Interface, there's a downloads section, and LOTRO interfaces are arranged in a variety of different categories based off of what you're looking for. Something to help with your class play, something to help with creep play, that kind of thing. I think Dungeons & Dragons mostly has the equivalent of skins, where you can change the look and feel of the game. I don't know that if Dungeons & Dragons Online has plugins or add-ons. So LOTRO interface is definitely a place for LOTRO things. You can find some DDO things as well. And so within this, you can go and manually install stuff. A lot of plugins will have instructions for how to do just that. For instance, in the Deed Tracker plugin, my goodness. But I don't want you to be an ad on my screen. So much stuff. Cool. The Deed Tracker plugin, as an example, has an introduction describing it, and then it has an installation and startup section. A lot of plugins will have something similar, and so it'll walk you through what you need to do to install. Unzip the downloaded Deed Tracker archive. All right, well. Click the download button, go to downloads, unzip it. Windows has a built-in method where you can use your favorite program. If it's a 7-zip instead of a zip file, you might need to download a third-party program. However, once it's downloaded and extracted, it says, you'll get a folder called Cube Plugins. I did. Move this folder into your Documents /Lord of the Rings Online /Plugins folder. Okay. Documents, Lord of the Rings Online, Plugins. Move it. Okay. Or if you prefer, you can use the Plugin Compendium. This is a third-party program you can download, and it will handle the downloading, unzipping, and moving of the files into the appropriate location. To load the plugin, use the game's built-in plugin manager. This can be found in the caret menu. So, one thing to note, if Lord of the Rings Online is running while you install a plugin, I already had it open, you will need to click this green circle in order to for LOTRO to know that it is there. Now it sees the Deed Tracker, we can click the load button. Hooray! Deed Tracker is here. A lot of plugins will have some sort of icon that you can use to open and close the main window. As a default position, they'll show up somewhere, and you just want to move that to wherever you like to have that. I tend to use around the edges of my screen for that kind of thing, so it's not sitting in the middle. And then you just go from there. That's basically it. Like I said, you don't have to do that manually, so instead you can use the LOTRO Plugin Compendium. Written by Lunar Water. Thank you so much, Lunar Water. Great job on this. And you can add a new plugin. So do a search, Deed Tracker, click that, click Add, and it's done. So it's maybe a little bit easier way to do that for those plugins that it supports. Not every plugin has quite the right directory structure, and so it doesn't work with this automated process, but that's okay. There's a lot in here that are supported. So, Bill Slowski, I hope that was useful. Let me know if you have any questions. In the meantime, let's go ahead and go back to whatever we were working on. Oh, I don't even know. Oh, the timer control, of course. Okay, so start section color, middle section color, end section color. Great. Now we also have this color middle time, which really needs to be middle section time. Nothing color about it. And then same thing, color end time, end section time. Okay. Bill Slowski says, okay, thank you. Great. Yeah, I saw a discussion happening the other day about whether or not DDO had plugins or add-ons. And since I haven't played in a long time and haven't tried to do any plugins or add-ons, I don't know for sure. But the namespace organization that Standing Stone Games has for LOTRO plugins seems like it would support being used in DDO as well. So even if it doesn't currently support it, maybe they left the door open for that. Because we start, at the time it was turbine, so we start with a turbine and a gameplay attributes section, and these are all, the gameplay attributes are all very LOTRO oriented, but the gameplay could be seen as a little bit more generic. Maybe not some of the enumerations, but definitely the core turbine section, plugin data, plugin manager, engine, these could be something a little bit more generic. That being said, it doesn't need to be the same API. It wouldn't make sense for a lot of it to be the same API. So just the fact that this has some generic aspects to it, where they build up a turbine, then gameplay attributes, and also UI, and then UI LOTRO. The fact that they split it out that way, makes me wonder what was in their head when they were doing that. Okay. So we have taken a an object-oriented but without the class keyword and without tucking things together in this class namespace. We've taken that code and we've converted it over to be class-based, and now we just need to try it out. Now, I don't remember exactly how to use it, but let's find out. So what we want to do is, first of all, we're going to need to import it. A lot of times those imports are just done in main. So let's go ahead, and it's a UI thing, so we're going to import Galahad plugins, .hytbold, and we're using dot notation for folders. So this is going into the libraries, timer control. Now, when you're importing, it has to be a .lua, so that's implicitly understood here. So including .lua will be a bug. Don't do that. I have caught myself out on that before. Okay, so we are importing it. Let's go ahead and just see. Any syntax errors? Just a couple, just 1 or 2 or 7. Okay, first of all, yes, I pulled over that class and type. These have paths in them that need to be fixed. So Galu had plugins, and that's going to be Hytbold. And should I change this over to be a cube plugins, I'll just have to convert these back. Okay, so cube. Okay, we're good in type. Cube. Oh, I've been searching the wrong way. Cube. Okay. Okay, so that was definitely going to be a problem. Let's go ahead and try to load now. Awesome, we can load. We're not actually trying to use this thing, so any of the runtime bugs aren't going to show up yet. But let's go ahead and just create timers automatically. Let's go ahead and create the timers and have them running. We'll give that a try. And I see we're coming up towards the normal end time of this stream. So while I get these timers up on the screen at least, if you have any last minute questions, comments, concerns, any of that, thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, now's a great time to start typing those out so we have a chance to look at them before the end of the stream. In the meantime, if we go to the quest window, we want the paper doll area. And those are the carousels. And really, we want it to just be kind of on top of the carousel. Well, on top of the bottom of the carousel. So I think instead of having the carousel be responsible for that, the carousel is a bit of a generic thing, but instead we can just go ahead and draw it in the same location as the carousel, because it's not moving around. Okay. So, draw timers on top of the carousels. So what we want to do is local head timer equals, and this is going to be a timer control. And yeah, the inability of it to pick up the constructor notation is something I would like to work out, but not today. Okay, so we want a width. So we want the helm carousel get width. We also need a height. Let's just make it, I don't know, like 4 pixels tall. Why not? Duration. We want this thing to be a 5-second timer. Border width, 0. Border height, 0. Okay. Start section color. Okay. Turbine.ui.color.white. Middle section color. All right. Turbine.ui.color.yellow. And when does it start? I would say, well, that's funny. This is seconds. I need that to be minutes. Okay, and we want to start that at maybe 2 minutes. Okay, what happens next? That's middle section color in time, end section color in time. All right, turbine.ui.color.red. And let's do that at 30 seconds. Okay, that's a lot of stuff. Let's see if it works. No! Attempt to call a global timer control. Awesome. Oh, of course, because I didn't add timer control to the correct namespace. So g.galahad plugins.hytbold.timer control equals timer control. So I'm just going to hoist that into the namespace there. Okay, head timer start. Nope, still don't see it. How do we use this thing? We were looking at... Let's see, where are we? Festival Buddy 2. How was this used? All right, we're going to go ahead and open a folder. That's the one. Sure, I trust them. And how is timer control used? Oh, right. We need to set parents. We need to maybe set positions. That's going to be very important. Head timer, set parent. And that's going to be something. Dress hub area. Always parent your UI stuff. Okay, so we can see it is not positioned where we want it to be, but it is there and it is counting down. Well, that's cool. Let's go ahead and say local timer duration equals 5 times 60, 5 minutes. Local timer warning time equals 2 times 60. Local timer urgent time equals 30. And I just want to do that to give some names to these numbers that we're using. But, hi, what's up, little one? Yeah? What's up? Did you just wake up? Sometimes I wonder about you, little one. It's very urgent. Okay, but we can go ahead and just change some of those values just for testing purposes. So now that was good, except the times at which it changed didn't match. So the timer control, I think those places where the bars are were probably hard-coded. Yeah, absolutely. We can see that right here. Instead of dividing by 5, what we want to do is really multiply by the ratio of those two times. So we want to, the middle section time, oh, actually it's end section time, divided by the full time, whatever we called that. Duration. There we go. Okay, and we can do the same thing here. Instead of multiplying by 3/5, we go ahead and take those numbers into account. So duration, yeah, that'd be 5 minutes. But here we want the middle section time. Oh, that's good. Now, obviously, that's going to be taken down in minutes instead of seconds, but we can see the functionality of the timer is there. That's exactly what we want here just above the head. Starts out white, transitions to a yellow color, transitions to a red, and oh no, you've lost it. So we can go ahead and come on back out and fix this. So 60 seconds. And that's going to make our bars a little bit more realistic. So the first section is white, and then yellow, and then red. But these bars here were much more interesting for Hobnanigans because the times changes corresponded with new skills in Hobnanigans. Well, Casper's not going to sit there. I'm going to raise this back up. So in Hobnanigans, you get new skills at the 6-minute points, at the 2-minute points, so it's a lot more necessary to know where that crossover is. So what we want to do is add yet another parameter to this timer control, and eventually it'd probably be worthwhile to maybe break these out into setter functions that you can optionally call, and if you don't, you have a reasonable default. Show section separators, maybe. Sure. Let's call it that, and we'll see how we feel about that. And so in QuestWin, we're going to say false for that, right? We actually don't care, and that's going to be the final thing. False. And again, naming your parameters is good, but we'll come back to that. Okay, so mark off the middle and end sections. So if show separators, then end bar and middle bar. And these are cosmetic only. They just show up on top of things. And so, I wonder if there's a background color. Yeah. So if we come back in, now we can see they're not there anymore. And of course, for testing purposes, let's go ahead and say that's actually still 5 seconds. And that is 2, and that's 0.5. Okay. So we can see that these colors are changing. In fact, it'll be a little bit easier if we change it to 3 and 1. Okay, at 3 and at 1. And if we pass in true here, then we're opting into those separators, and then you can see them coming up. Okay, so the position of the timer control is not right, but the width probably is. So we want to go ahead and have it be at the bottom of the carousel location. So we know how tall we are saying. So let's do that again. Hoisting that out, local timer height equals 4. Let's get rid of those. And then local border width equals 0. Local border height equals 0. And then we don't have to look at this and say, I wonder why we're passing zeros. And finally, same thing, we want to go ahead and say show section separators is its own variable local, shows a equals false, and then you don't have to look and say, I wonder what this false means. You can read the invocation of the function without looking somewhere else. Okay. So we've got the timer start. We don't actually want that at this point, but it's fine for testing purposes. And what we want to do is set the location. So head timer set position to be something. Currently that's implicitly 0, 0. We need it to be different. So first of all, we want to adjust it not at all left to right because it's supposed to be filling the entire width, except, oh wait, it's relative to its parent area. So if instead of passing in dress up area, if we pass in helm carousel, now it's oriented based off of the location of its parent. And we can see it's centered automatically. Now we still just need to adjust the height, the top position. So instead of set position, we're going to set top. And that's going to be something else. That's going to be head carousel, helm carousel. Oh my goodness, I need to stop naming things differently. Get height minus, and now we have this thing, timer height. And that's the top of the timer. Also, anywhere where I'm using head, I need to say helm, or I'm going to get myself into even more trouble. Helm, 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 helm. Okay. Consistency, lovely. Okay, we can see that didn't work quite right. It might be that there is more height here than we're seeing. Or these things are being adjusted in some way. So let's take a look at where all helm carousel is being called. Well, that's interesting. Let's go ahead and say helm carousel. We'll set back color to turbine.ui.shell. Nope, turbine.ui.color. Sure, aqua. That sounds like a great color. Okay, so first of all, the real question is that all of it, or is it some of it being covered up by the next one? And so that's easy enough to do if we say same thing, we set same place, we set the back color. We also set shoulder carousel set visible to false. Okay, and we can see yes, it does look like that's all of it. So if that's the case, why aren't we seeing the timer? Well, let's turn off this set top for a moment and reassure ourselves that's the only problem. And then let's try incremental changes to make sure we're doing this correctly. So set top, let's not worry about that. Let's just set the top to 20. Okay, that made it go down. Awesome. Okay, so let's get some information. Height equals, and that's going to be the helm carousel get height. And what we also want is top. What did we say we wanted it to be? Is this value here? Awesome. So we can see, yeah, we thought we had a height of 76. We wanted to put it at 72. That all seems great. Let's go ahead and put this at 60 and see what's going on. Okay, we're close to the bottom. I think I am wondering if the height is wrong then. Because at 65, we're basically at the bottom. We're where we want to be. Maybe 66 or 67. But regardless, we're not using that full 76 that we have access to. Nope, one more. So that's a case where the carousel seems to have more vertical space than the image. That's odd. We don't have to fix it right now, but it is an oddity. It feels like the helm carousel should be the same height as the stuff it's containing. Where else are we using this? So parent position get top plus the get height. Okay, we are using this. All right, let's go ahead and set different colors for each one of these, and maybe that will make more sense. Okay, obviously we can't set the same color or it doesn't do what we want, so just going to go ahead and choose some colors randomly. This will probably not look good. Fair warning. Yes, if you're sensitive to clashing colors, now's your warning. Alright, let's see what that's going on. Oh, no, wait. No, okay, because I forced it to be in a specific location. So these things are starting at the position we are thinking they should be. Okay, that's confusing. All right, turbine.shell.eyeline, helm carousel get height. Tell me more. All right, fine. Helm. Helm top. Well, first of all, I'm going to need to call the right function. Okay. Helm top is 0. Great. Width height. $76. All right, just for kicks, we're going to add another 20 spaces onto there. I don't get it. Why isn't this working? Or why am I getting differences? Like, there's obvious, it is where it should be. And that height is 76. Let's just do a sanity check. I'm going to do a little step here. Take it into a simple tool like MS Paint and count pixels. Alright, I'm not actually going to count the pixels. I'm just going to use the selection tool, which will tell me how tall it is. It is 76. So at 72 pixels, that should have been correct. But we know that we have put in code that the top is 67. What is this 67 from? Helm timer, timer control, 67. Okay, so it thinks it's there, which suggests that our border width and border height might be still in play, even though we said they were 0. That's the only thing I can think of. So let's take a look and see where border height is being used. Oh, hey. We included a height plus double the border height plus 10? Why would we have done that to ourselves? Past me! Well, that would certainly explain why we were seeing something a bunch of pixels off. Let's go on into the quest win and restore the code that we should use. See how we feel about that. No. Okay. Well, I feel like we're closer. Okay, where else? Wait, timer, set position, border width. What am I doing? Alright, so it's doing border height plus 5, but I think it just needs to be border height at that point. I don't know where these extra things are coming from. I must have had some custom padding in Hobnanigan's timer that I was playing with. Same thing, timer text. We're going to go ahead and not do that. Alright, border width. Where's that being done? Okay, that's all normal. Okay, so back to here. Bring in the real thing. And it's showing up where we want it to show up. Holy moly. I blame past me. I actually blame almost present me for not double checking those things a little bit more carefully during the import process. Alright, so we can see we have a timer bar. It turns white to yellow to red as you get closer to it expiring. Perfect. I think I'll save off on testing that because that requires 5 minutes of real time, but I think that's really good process. Now, we should have a way to test this to say, hey, I just picked up a whatever, I just lost a whatever. I think that'll be a good thing to add. Add debug options to add or remove each piece type and style. So we'll just have a little grid of 3 by 6 buttons so we can, for both on and off, probably. That's the simplest way anyway. Okay. So we have incorporated a timer that will do what we want it to do, and we'll be able to add one to each one of these locations. And that's pretty much it. Because it's able to make use of the entire width of the carousel, including the arrows, I think even for gloves and pants, it'll be wide enough for reasonable resolution. Awesome. Okay, so next time we're going to go ahead and connect that timer up so that it starts when you pick up the correct piece, and it would stop and disappear if you somehow overrode that with the wrong piece. And that's going to be much easier to test with a debug functionality that we're also going to add in next time. All right, I don't see any last minute questions in chat to respond to, so I think this is a great place to leave it. We, I believe, still have Meilong doing the Adventuring Back to Rohan at 9 p.m. server time today on Tuesday. So join them. I hear they are brawling around. And with that, that's everything we're going to cover today. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration of LOTRO plugins. I do hope to see you here again next week. And until then, keep plugging along. All right, bye-bye now.